Hey beautiful people, my name is Brittany and today I want to share with you about my experience with intermittent fasting. So to start off, what is intermittent fasting? To me, it is eating in a shorter eating window and having a longer fasting period. I know that's not the technical definition, but that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So as opposed to eating throughout the day, I have a set time where I'm eating, where I'm being present with my food, where eating is my focus. And then I have a very intentional set period of time where I am not eating. And I want to talk about how this has sort of evolved for me over time, why I'm doing it, what I love about it, what's challenging about it. I just kind of want to give you like a casual look into this thing that I've been doing that has become such an important part of my life, not because of the practice itself so much as because of all the things that have come along with it, and specifically more intention. And it feels really aligned with me and the life I want to be living. So if you see me referencing my notes down here, it's because I've got them. How long have I been practicing intermittent fasting for? Well, I first became interested in it some like 3-4 years ago and started playing around with it. Even before that, like when I was, I guess in my early 20s, I became more aware of how it felt when I snacked throughout the day versus had more like set meal times. So it's been on my radar for a while, and early on I started gaining data that, for example, if I ate late at night, I didn't feel that good, or if I got up in the middle of the night and snacked, it didn't feel that good for me. And that was something I did often. It's interesting because when I first heard about intermittent fasting, I felt really repelled by it. I felt like that doesn't, from what I had learned about fasting at the time, it didn't seem to jive. It seemed like, well, if you want to really reap the benefits of like water only fasting, for example, you can't just do it intermittently. And it's just interesting how different things feel at different times, and how different data and experiences shape your life over time. Pretty much everything I feel really excited about that's enhancing my life, that I feel really strongly about, I at one point felt very differently about. So I would say for the past 3 years, I've had it much more on my mind to eat in a smaller eating window, whether that be like 6 hours, 8 hours, etc. And 6 hours for a long period of time felt like my goal, and it also felt really hard for me to do. And I'll share about why I think that was. More recently, I'd say in the last 4 to 5 months, I feel like I'm finally doing it. I'm finally eating in the eating window I want every day, or like 99.9% of the time. I'm feeling so many benefits. I feel this great relaxation around my practices, and I love the way they're going. And this is why I feel like really excited to share about it now, because it feels integrated. It just feels like another thing I'm doing that's become a practice. It doesn't feel like this great struggle it did when I first started. So specifically honing in on these last 4 to 5 months, that's what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the time. What's my eating window like? I tend to eat for about 4 hours a day. What feels good for me right now is eating from 10 till 2. And that has a lot to do with my schedule here, where I'm living in Austin, Texas, and how things work out for me. I've played around with a shorter eating window up to like as low as 1 hour and as long as 4. And at different times in these last 4 months, I've been closer to like 1 to 2 hours, or somewhere like 2 to 3. And in the last month, I've found that if I can hit 4, because now I've become accustomed to eating in a shorter period of time, I'm trying to keep it at about 4 hours, because I think that's like that sweet spot for me right now, where I can easily eat all the foods that my body is really wanting. I tend to eat a lot of high water content foods, a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and greens. So I need the space in my body, and I find that if I try to pack that into a short period of time, it's overtaxing my system, which is the opposite of what I'm looking for. The greatest benefit I feel like this has brought to my life has been incredible spaciousness and relaxation around the topic of eating, which has been a really challenging area of my life. I feel like I really don't have many vices, or like any vices outside of eating. That's the one that I grew up learning poor habits around. I feel like between my mom and my sister, who I grew up with, they both had disordered eating on opposite ends of the spectrum, and I totally grew into disordered eating. And it's been something that I've worked on so much over time and felt like I've just had these like baby steps, and this feels like this huge leap that I've known for a while could be really helpful, but has been really hard to incorporate. It feels amazing to be finally doing it. And the relaxation I feel in my body is incredible. A big part of that is because I've found something that really works and resonates for me. And it's like I've set myself up for success with this guidance system that I know feels good, and that I stick to it and it feels good. And before, I would feel like, okay, I had this intention, but kind of like out of nowhere, a part of me could swoop in and be like, yeah, that we said we were gonna do that, but you know, right now you could just like have this thing, it's not that big a deal. And then you'd feel relief from this part of you that's hurting right now or feeling overwhelmed. And at this point, that's so not a part of my practice, and I've gotten the feedback many times over all these years of living that actually didn't feel good for me to eat during those times where I was emotionally eating, and I just didn't know how to not do it. I didn't know how to be with my emotions, to be with everything that was coming up for me. So that's been another huge benefit, has been healing more and creating more spaciousness around my experience in life and what is real for me, and developing real tools as opposed to this crutch of emotional eating to numb when I was feeling uncomfortable. And that biggest tool has been to be with what I'm feeling and to create more space for it because of this intention that I'm bringing to my eating practices. It's really leaked into all these areas of my life, and I feel so much more intention and focus and sensitivity in the way that I'm looking for to be living a much more aligned, vibrant life. There are also so many amazing physical benefits that I feel. For example, I'm digesting my food way better. I'm making a point to eat very mindfully when I am during my eating window, and that's the focus. When I'm eating, I'm eating. I'm really choosing it. I'm in a state of appreciation and I'm being present with it. And when I'm not eating, I'm focused on the other things that I am doing. So I think all of this intention and presence is helping me digest my food better. I'm eating more mindfully, more slowly. I'm assimilating and absorbing my food better. I also think this is because I'm not taxing my system with this large digestive load throughout the day at different times. I have better recovery in my athletic practices. I've seen huge strength gains, flexibility gains, and performance gains overall in my acro practices, my handstand practice, just like every area of my physical movement practice. I also have better recovery around athletics. Becoming a stronger, lighter flyer. For acrobatics, I fly, so I'm the person who's being tossed and thrown around. So strength to weight ratio is important to me, because the stronger and lighter I can be, the tighter and higher I'll fly, the more easily my base can flip me around. So it's been a goal of mine to lose body fat and gain strength, and that I feel like I've had the most success with that since I've been practicing this way of eating in this window for the last few months. Increased mental clarity. I feel so much more honed in on things and focused. I feel like, sometimes I feel like I have superpowers. It's pretty exciting. Are all these benefits because of intermittent fasting? Yes and no, who knows exactly? Yes, I think they really are linked. And also I feel like the big picture is that I'm bringing more intention to my life. And this is the way that's really resonating with me right now. And that intention, that focus, that is spilling out into every area of my life. For me, this isn't about setting boundaries to stifle myself. It feels like creating guidelines so that I can thrive. And it's something that I've been super intentional about creating. I know I keep using that word, and that's because that's what this feels like. It's such a grand intention for me, and it's something that has been feeling so amazing that any parts of it that could be hard or have been hard, like making these adjustments and what that can bring up for me, have been so in alignment, such as feeling heavy emotions. That's perfect. That's what I want to be doing. I want to be feeling with what's there for me. I feel like I have flexibility around this. I'm really open to modifying it and making it more ideal for me over time. And what I've found is that this is feeling really ideal for me. And I'm sure it's gonna change, just like, you know, playing with 1, 2, 3, 4 hours has sort of changed for me. And as I grow and adapt, I know that I'm gonna wanna make modifications. Do I feel like this is for everybody? No, I don't feel like anything is for everybody at every time. I feel like you can know what's best for you at any given time, and you're the only one. And that's the most important practice that I've found in my life, has been tapping into what feels right for me. And then being playful with what I thought felt right for me and trying it out and adapting and being down to do it no matter how weird or different it is from what I'm seeing or feeling around me. So if this is something that's exciting you and you want to play around with it, heck yeah. If this is something that feels like it's totally not what you're looking for, heck yeah. You're gaining more data, and either way is great. I think people with things that are seen as extreme or really different than the norm, it can bring up stuff for people. And that makes a lot of sense for me. And this doesn't bring up stuff for me in that way. This feels really in alignment. That's why I'm doing it. I'm so health focused. So if you have any questions about how it's feeling for me, I'm so down to answer them. And also I think it's pretty safe to assume that it feel like, no, I'm not having any sort of like negative repercussions from this. Everything's working really well for me. My system feels like this is what it wants, and I just feel like I'm really thriving. Thank you all so much for your interest in hearing about this. I know that many of you have asked to hear more about my journey with food and body image, and it feels like a cool first step to introduce this thing and to have it as like a point to talk about while I dive into those subjects at different times. If you're interested in learning how to tap into your system more, or just having guidance in that whole process, I really invite you to check out my program Simplify. I've included all the tools that I used to radically change my life and start living a life of my dreams, to be more in alignment with my true self. And I feel super excited to share all of that with you and to help you find your own personal hell yes. Love you all so much.